You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 157.5.5, our Western Panthers weekend preview, co-hosted by Michelle Garmon of the Elwood Call Leader and Tipton Tribune, with guest Western head coach Cam Bennington.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Welcome, basketball fans, to our Western Panthers weekend preview. Western is 9-5 overall heading into Friday's big game against Maconaquah, and then they face Mississinewa on Saturday. Tough weekend for the Panthers. Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader and I spoke with Cam Bennington, the head coach of the Western Panthers, to get his thoughts on a recent tough loss to Taylor and a very tough weekend coming up. Well, Coach, last game, really tough loss against Taylor. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, that one was really, really disappointing for us. And, the way we played in the second half down the stretch was, I'm not going to call it perfect because we made mistakes, but we played really, really well in the second half. And, we went into the locker room at halftime down 8, not feeling like we played very well. And then really came out and dominated the first 15 minutes of the second half. Win those first 15 minutes of the second half by 16 points. The only problem is that it's a 16-minute half and not a 15-minute half. We led by 8 with a minute to go. And then the wheels really just fell off and we turned the ball over, missed a couple free throws, gave up 3 offensive rebounds on free throws, a couple and ones. Really it was a tough way to lose, giving up 5 points in the final 5 seconds. But at the end of the day, I truly believe we're going to be better off because of it. The kids have responded well this week, and we learned a lot from it in film. But I'd be lying if I said that sitting here today, it isn't still a tough one to swallow when you think back at the way it ended.
Oh, I'm sure, and of course, what do you get to do now? You get to come back and host a good Maconaquah team with led by Hosea Ball.
Yeah, no, they, probably one of the hardest teams in the state to prepare for just because of the unorthodox style they play and how hard they play. And Coach Burris does a phenomenal job. He's done a great job for a long time. And, I really appreciate the relationship I have with him. Getting to talk to him even back when I was at Winnemac, I got to know Coach Burris because we scrimmaged them. And, we built a little relationship back then. And he's been good to me to have to talk to and stuff just as kind of a guy who's done it a lot longer than I have and knows a lot more than I do. And, now that, we're opponents, trying to prepare for his teams is a handful with the tempo and the pace they play at and the many different guys they have that can score the ball. And then, you mentioned Josiah Ball, who is averaging 30 points a game. And, sometimes I think people forget that they got AJ Kelly right there at like 19.6 points per game as well. So, there's no bounce back or get right game for us. We got a really, really tough one at home tomorrow night.
Oh yeah, I mean, because Maconaquah is a team that, I mean, you don't know if it's going to be a dribble down the court and pull up and shoot it, if it's going to be a one pass and a three, or if they're going to make 2 or 3 passes and get a back cut or something to the basket. I mean, there's just, you're right, it's unorthodox.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a green light. Their players have a green light to on offense, and if they get hot, it can. I know it can. It can kind of get away from a team.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot this week of being able to manage the runs. And when you play a team that plays this style, there's always going to be runs. And we talk a lot about just in general in our game plans and stuff about managing the runs. And like, do you let a 6-0 run become a 12-0 run, or do you stop the 6-0 run at a 6-0 run because you stay true to what we do, or you don't hang your head, or you don't let one mistake become 2 and you eliminate the compounding mistakes. And against a team like Maconaquah, it's of the utmost importance that you do that. Because like you said, it can get away from you in a hurry against them. It can be a 1 or 2 point game where you're going back and forth and then you blink and you're down 12. Just with how fast they play. And, they just do so many things and they run the floor so well. And they rebound so well that they're able to kind of leak some guys out in transition and throw it ahead. But, do they leave themselves vulnerable on the, to offensive rebounds at times? Yeah, maybe. But if you crash the offensive rebound hard and you don't get it, they're shooting uncontested layups at the other end of the floor. So, there's just a lot of decisions that you have to make when you're game planning for a team like them. And, it's going to be a challenge, but we're excited for it. And it's a sectional opponent. And, we're just excited to get a crack at them and see where we're at.
Well, and I'm going to guess a team like that is one you want to, because they're explosive and they like to get out and go on offense. The more you can kind of grind it out on your offensive end and make them play defense, then the harder it is for them to establish an offensive rhythm.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we've talked a lot about tempo and pace this week about, can you find the right tempo or can you find the right pace? And it's not just this week, but that's something we've talked about a lot in our games the last couple of weeks is finding the right pace and making sure that we're dictating the pace and that, if the game gets fast, it's because we want it to get fast. And if the game gets slow, it's because we want it to be slow and that, we don't buy into playing at the other team's pace. We make them play at our pace. And, that's not to say that tomorrow night it's going to be walking up the floor and we try to hold Maconaquah in the 30s or 40s because I don't know that you can do that even if you try to play a slow game. But at the same time, I don't think we're going to roll the ball out and try to just score 100 points and try to outscore them because I don't know that anybody has really succeeded at doing that yet this year. So just trying to find the right pace to be able to run our stuff and get good shots, but also be able to corral them and get them stopped and try to defend them in the half court. And, someone asked me earlier this week, well, like, can you just slow them down and make them play in the half court? And I said, yeah, sure. You can probably make them play in the half court, but they still got a 30 points per game score and a 20 points per game score in that half court. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get stops just because it's in the half court. So, like we said, they're a handful to prepare for. It's been a tough week with the weather and stuff and not getting a ton of practice, but, everybody's in the same boat on that. So, we're going to roll the ball tomorrow and just hopefully we play really, really hard and get locked in on the defensive end of the floor and make a couple shots while we're at it.
Yeah, and then Saturday, your word is a trip over to Gas City to take on Mississinewa.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, truthfully, we haven't got to spend a lot of time on Mississippi Wall yet because, like I said, we've had, probably the hardest team on our schedule to prepare for on Friday night. And, we've watched a little bit of film and I got to go see them play live on Tuesday at Wabash. And, that's not going to be a walk in the park or a get right game either. They're sitting right at around 500, but have beat some good teams and play a strong schedule. And, they got a freshman guard who's really dynamic and can score and some size and some athleticism to go with them. And, that's going to be a challenge too. So, and it's a quick turnaround with it being a noon JV tip off. So, we're going to have a fast pace, hopefully tough physical game that, we're competitive in tomorrow night and then have to turn it around and, 15 hours later play against a really good or a really good Mississinewa team on the road.
All right, and then I'm going to look ahead real quick one, and then you host Clinton Prairie. I mean, you're in a starting with Taylor last week. You're in a really kind of a tough 4 game stretch, but like you said, it should help make your team tournament ready.
Yeah, no, we talk about that a lot and before the season and stuff about, when we fill out our schedule, we don't want to search for wins. We're trying to find teams that are going to make us better and help us get prepared for the tournament down the stretch. And ever since we got out of our holiday tournament, it's been a grind of, we went there and played some good teams and you followed up with playing West Lafayette, who's 11-1 now, and then you had the Logan Sport game in there along with Lafayette Central Catholic, who's always competitive, and then you play an 11-1 Taylor team last week, and now we get Maconaquah and Mississinewa this weekend, and the 2-loss Clinton Prairie team, and then after that we got Tippecanoe Valley, who's got like 3 or 4 losses and has beaten some 4A teams in Fort Wayne, and Oak Hill's coming up in there too, and they're really good, and it's we're in the meat grinder part of our schedule, and there's no nights off, and yeah, is that stressful? But that's what we do it for, and it's a challenge, and we have to be ready to go every single night just to be competitive in the games because these teams we're playing right now, if you're not ready to play, we'll beat you by 15, 20 points before you even know it. So it makes preparation challenging, but it also makes it fun, and there's no group of kids I'd rather do it with than the group of kids that I get to. So I take some solace in that, and just excited to go to work with them every day.
Thanks so much to Michelle Garmon and to Coach Bennington for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report, and thank you for listening. Please go like, subscribe, or follow us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or YouTube so you don't miss a single segment. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.